Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this video, I'm going to do a unboxing, a review of this series of books that you see in my hands. Literally, العربية بين يديك. And this is basically the equivalent of العربية بين يديك, but for kids. العربية بين يدي أولادنا. Or بين يدي أولادنا. And the company or organization that takes care of these, which are the same ones that put together العربية بين يديك, is called Arabic for All. And they were kind enough to send me a copy of this full series, and I'm going to revise it and review it with you guys and go over it. And we are going to talk about how we can make sure that all of this knowledge right here, how can we transfer it into our children's mind, even if our Arabic is still not there, but we don't want to waste time until I learn Arabic and then my children and learn Arabic themselves. Ideally, we want to, as soon as we realize as adults, like, oh wow, I wish I learned Arabic before. As soon as you realize that, you want to make sure that you start doing whatever you can so your children don't have to realize late as well that they should have learned Arabic. So first of all, let's talk about the actual work itself, the quality of the books and the images of the books made for children as well. The touch feels very, very good. It feels good to write on it, and it's always nice to have the physical copies, especially for kids, because it's a different feeling for them. And it's a different excitement to actually fill out the exercises themselves and whatnot. They actually have a website that's called kids.arabicforall.net, which I will put in the description below. And you can go on there, and there are audio materials that go with the books themselves. You can buy them from their website, and as you can see, they are about $7, let's say $8 each. And if you go into the audio materials here at the top, later once you have the books and use the audios that they have here, you can even download all of them here.
الكتاب الأول، الوحدة الأولى، الدرس الأول، التدريب الأول. انظر واستمع وأعد.
السلام عليكم. وعليكم السلام. اسمي محمد. ما اسمك؟ اسمي فضل.
والآن جاء دورك.
السلام عليكم.
One thing that I like about arabicforall.net and as an organization, and an organization that put together curriculums to learn Arabic, is that they are very well organized. If you have done العربية بين يديك before, you might have not realized that at the end of the books, actually there is a breakdown of all the words, and as well there is a breakdown of, very importantly, the purpose of the lesson. So for each lesson there is a purpose in العربية بين يديك. I don't think they have put it here because for children, learning Arabic for children is a little bit simpler, and they pick it up quicker and they are able to build patterns faster. But what they did is they put the breakdown of all the vocabulary, so at the end of each lesson the instructor that's teaching those children can test them on that vocabulary as well and make sure that they have achieved anything that they had to achieve in that lesson, which this is what makes a difference when somebody learns Arabic by just scattered from in a scattered way, where sometimes certain teachers, they don't follow a specific curriculum or whatever it might be, which is fine as well. You're still going to learn. But if you have a book and each book has, let's say, 70 lessons, and each lesson has a particular and each lesson has a particular amount of vocabulary, and basically you understand what you have to accomplish to learn Arabic, which, let's say, for example, for the English language, they say 10,000 vocabulary words, right? Let's say for the Arabic language, since is a root-based language, as in you learn one root, for example, kataba, and once you understand this morphological phenomenon, the sarf of the 3 root letters, you later on are able to understand from one root letter different meanings that come from that same root letter. So for example, once you understand what the pattern of the verb for infa'ala and for fa'ala and for af'ala and for istaf'ala, once you understand what this pattern usually means, then you just have to add 3 letters to it and you have a bunch of other words. So let me give you an example. If you know kharaja, to come out or to leave or to exit, and then you understand the pattern of af'ala, then you take these 3 letters and add it into this pattern, and now you know kharaja, which is to leave, but you know as well akhraja, which is to take out or kick out. And then you know as well istaf'ala, if you know this pattern, istaf'ala, you know that it usually means to extract something or to ask for something or to consider something a particular thing. Now in this case for kharaja, istakhraja, usually it might mean to extract something from something. Likewise, if you know the pattern of fa'ala, which is similar to the af'ala, then you know that kharraja, to take something out as well. Likewise for infa'ala, usually it means that the thing has been done by itself. In kharaja, it can mean that something just came out of somewhere without anybody really causing that thing to come out of that thing. And so because it's a root-based language, it's easier to learn. And as an adult, it helps you to make these correlations. But children, they start building these patterns faster than adults. And especially because adults as well, we tend to try and understand too much. Try and stop and try and make sense of it, and instead of just allowing yourself to learn how a children would learn. Now, this doesn't mean that a children shouldn't learn things like, for example, here we have kaf al-mukhatab, right? So you could consider this as grammar. So masmuka, the possessive pronouns. Masmuka, what's your name? Masmuki, what's your name for a female? Masmukum, right? So we learn this on book 1. Likewise, we learn ma al-istifhamiyya, you know, to ask a question. Ma hadha, what is this? And so this is how you learn grammar progressively. Instead of starting with al-ajrumiyya from the very beginning, trying to understand al-ajrumiyya, you just start by learning little concepts of grammar that anybody, when they learn a language, would use in their first communication sentences, like, oh, what's your name? Where are you from? From mean aina anta. All of these things is grammar as well, but it's pieces of grammar that are very useful in the beginning in order for you to form sentences that make sense. And so this is on the first book. Then as well, one thing that I like about this is, so when it comes to learning a language, listening to how the thing is said is what helps for your brain to form the language in your brain as a tilqai, as something that's automatic for you to do. And I tell you this after having grew up speaking Catalan, Spanish, learned French, learned English, and learned Arabic. All of these last 3 till fluency. They were in my languages. Catalan and Spanish, you can say those are my mother tongues and my national tongues. And these 3 languages, especially French, because Arabic, English we did it in school, Arabic was the only one that I actually sat down in a class and went over books and etc., obviously because I'm more interested about it to understand my religion and whatnot. But French, to be honest, my writing is very bad. My grammar, my everything when it comes to the actual technicalities of the language in French is very bad. Mais si je parle français, n'importe quelle personne qui m'entend parler français, peut-être qu'il faudra qu'il m'entende pendant peut-être 2 heures, ou même disons une demi-heure. Si je parle pendant une demi-heure, je vais commencer à dire des bavures, je vais commencer à dire des choses qu'une personne qui est native, qui a grandi dans cette langue, tombe pas dans ce genre de bavures. Mais moi, mon français, il est vraiment de la street, quoi, de la street de Paris. So my French is fluent, but I learned that by listening. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because if you pay attention to people who are deaf, their problem is not speaking. Yet when they speak, they sound, you know, I don't want to imitate them, but for the sake of the example, to make the example clear, they sound like they're not able to pronounce the full sentences, and it sounds like they have a problem in speaking. But the real problem is in listening, and because they don't hear how it's being said and how it's spoken, they are only able to communicate with sign languages. But when it comes to the voice and the sound that they produce with their mouth, they don't have a problem with that. They can yell and they can try and communicate speaking. And likewise, I remember growing up, there was a girl in my class. She was half deaf, and because she was half deaf, she was able to speak, but it wasn't 100% accurate. And so this shows you that when it comes to being able to form a language and being able to produce language, you will need to listen a lot. And this is why I like how Arabic for All make their books, is because they make part of the curriculum listening a lot. And when I met the author of the book, or one of the authors, Dr Abdurrahman ibn Ibrahim Al-Fawzan, which I'll put the link in the description so you can go and watch the interview. We spoke about how to learn Arabic as somebody who is not Arab and whatnot. And one thing that we spoke about a lot, which opened my eyes when it comes to how our program was set up when we were teaching العربية يديك in Andalus Institute, it opened my eyes in making students, use the language more and listen more. So what the Sheikh said is that when you go over العربية يديك, all you have to do is go over a lesson, especially the first ones because it's all conversational. Go over the lesson and then make the students just repeat that same thing. So in the beginning, you start memorizing sentences. Where are you from? You just memorize where are you from as one block, and you just memorize that. And now you know that where are you from? You just know that means, where are you from, basically. And this is how you start with the language. Like, for example, there are certain things that I might know how to say for example, in Tagalog, right? I grew up around a lot of Filipinos in Barcelona, Spain. I used to play as an import as well, play basketball in a Filipino team. So I know, for example, ang pangalan ko Muhammad. Ang pangalan ko Muhammad. I just know that ang pangalan ko means my name is. I don't know which of those words is my. I don't know which one is. I don't know which one is name. But I know that ang pangalan ko Muhammad means my name is, right? And if any Filipino in the comments, you can correct me. And so this is how you start learning a language. You memorize the actual full sentence first, and once you start communicating, and then little by little, you will be able to start debunking the whole sentence and be able to use blocks of that sentence that you have memorized to produce more language. So first you know how to say min aina anta, where are you from? Then you're able to produce where I come from, where I go to, where, and you're able to use that word or those different words in many different sentences. So now you'll start being able to produce more sentences. Now let's talk about how would you make sure that your children go over this. And it's important that we talk about this because me personally, I have realized that, it took me learning the Arabic language myself, and it took me 10 years to learn the Arabic language myself to realize how late I was in terms of speaking to my children. And the thing is that when I had my first child, my Arabic wasn't good yet at the stage of speaking on a day-to-day basis to my children, and it didn't feel comfortable. Now after 10 with other children that I had, now I'm able to do so. And I wish I did it with my oldest kids, because then they would have grew up with their first language or their mother tongue home language being the Arabic language. And that on a long term just gives you so much facility or ease in terms of your deen, whether it's memorizing the Quran, whether it's sitting at a khutbah, and maybe you're not proficient at Fusha, but you understand 60 to 80% of what the Imam is saying, especially if the Imam is paying attention to speak in a way where the mass of the people understands in an easy Arabic, which most of the Imams do. And I think that many times we don't realize how important it is for us to put time into teaching the Arabic language into our children, because ourselves yet we haven't seen the importance. And you don't really see the importance until you actually get it and you have the Arabic language with you and you read the Quran every day and you hear anything, just turn on the Quran in the radio is a reminder. And just hearing the Quran while you're washing dishes is a reminder, because you understand, and then it's going over a story and it's reminding you of things you might be going through right now. So in simple, how would I, if I'm not yet proficient myself in Arabic, how would I make sure that my children go over this. And look, when it comes to knowledge, all there is going over books. I was having this conversation with a brother not long ago. We were talking about how, you know, there is knowledge that we don't know just because we haven't gone over the book yet. And the first step to acquiring that knowledge is just going over the book, like just read it, because there is knowledge out there that it doesn't take rocket science to understand. So when it comes to learning Arabic, maybe the first few books, it will be the pad information, the skill formation is going to be a little bit tougher. But then your children, once they get these, all of this rest of the books is going to be so simple. So what I would recommend is that you find somebody who is recommended by a teacher that you know knows how to teach the Arabic language. And it's not every teacher that knows the Arabic language that knows how to teach it. And I'm saying that because a lot of people think that because somebody's native that they will teach better. And that's not necessarily the case. But you want to find someone that knows how to teach the Arabic language to non-Arab. That's first thing. Somebody who knows how to children. That's another thing. Because teaching children is not the same as teaching adults. You want to find somebody who can teach your children all in Arabic. That's very important. In the beginning, maybe yes, they might be able to do a little bit of English here and there, but then you want your children to listen to Arabic all the time. So you want the teacher to teach them in Arabic. And again, with the example that we said about the deaf people, the reason why they can't speak is because they don't hear it. So if you hear it, your children will just replicate what they are hearing. And so for that, you can simply just go on websites that have, private tutors to teach the Arabic language. Or if you know someone, whatever it might be, just find a private tutor that can sit down for, even if it's 3 hours a week. Ideally, you want to do it on a day-to-day basis, and just have that teacher go with your children over this book. That's how simple it is. Just take that teacher and have them go over these books with your children. And believe me, after a year and a half, and once your children have gone over these books, they will surprise you, and you will be so glad that you did. And you will see the fruits of your children knowing Arabic in the future when they grow older. Now, obviously, before you get into these books or your children, you want them to learn how to read. So if you don't know how to read or your children don't know how to read, what I would recommend you is to go and check the description. I have a full free course that you can go over. In 2 days, you will learn how to learn Arabic, even if it's a slow pace, and texts that are easy with harakat, with vowels, but it's all you need in order for you to learn how to read. And you can do it yourself and do it with your children. And in 1 weekend, in 2 weekends, you guys can be good readers of the Arabic language. And then next step is going into this. And believe me, this is all your children would need in order for them to know Arabic. العربية بين يديك العربية بين يدي أولادنا. I haven't gone over this one, but I have gone over العربية بين يديك times and taught it myself. And I can tell you that it's all you need in order for you to have B2 level of Arabic. And B2 level is what you will need to understand a very simple tafsir. Like this tafsir right here, for example. Very simple tafsir to understand. And just imagine what that would do in your house. If you put effort into this, and then just imagine yourself like watching Arabic cartoons with your children, reading to them a story before they go sleep only in Arabic. And by the way, before we finish this, watching Arabic cartoons. My children, 2 of them, they learned Arabic by literally just having a very strict rule in the house. You cannot watch anything unless it's Arabic cartoons or cartoons in Arabic. And they literally learned Arabic like that. No structured Arabic learning, literally just watching Arabic cartoons. So I would recommend you that you have that strict rule in your house of only allowing your children to watch Arabic cartoons. And believe me, after 1 year, it will surprise you. So this video is to hopefully encourage you to have your children learn the Arabic language, even if perhaps you don't have time, or you might think that you don't have time, or whatever it might be. Have your children at least benefit from, and let them benefit from their young brain, so they can learn the Arabic language before they become a little bit older.